Welcome to the 997.1 GT3 Rennsport, a proper homologation special, Metzger engine, 415 horsepower, a top speed of 193 mile an hour and a 0 to 62 time of 4.2 seconds. This is a serious piece of Porsche metal and it can be yours for just over £100,000. It's a lot of car for the money, but there is a catch. In this video, we're going to explore the pros and cons of purchasing a Porsche that's a certified insurance write-off. So, you found the sports car of your dreams. In this case, a 911 997.1 GT3 RS. But it's a crash damage or insurance write-off. Now, the easy thing to do is to readily dismiss it. This is not a car that you're going to purchase. But that shouldn't be the case. Make no mistake, purchasing a car like this does require a lot of consideration and a lot of research. In this video, we're going to explore all of those in a bit more detail, but let's start by understanding all the different categories of crash damage vehicles and what they mean. We'll start by clarifying that the former Cat C and D system was replaced by categories N and S in 2017 by the Association of British Insurers. Cat N stands for non-structural damage to the frame or chassis of a car, whereas Cat S means the vehicle has had structural damage but can be repaired. Both categories are write-offs where an insurance company has decided it's not worth fixing the car and that getting a new one at market value would be less expensive. But both these categories are deemed safe to repair and return to the road. That's why these cars are often sold into the trade to repair at trade prices. The car will need an inspection before an owner can apply for a new V5 logbook in order to return it to the public highway. There is such a thing as category A and B cars, by the way, but they'll never return to the road as their damage has been deemed too excessive. Category A cars are crushed and category B cars can be broken for certain parts. With all that explained, let's look at the positives and negatives of buying a Cat N or S vehicle. Let's start with the positives of purchasing an insurance write-off vehicle. There are two massive ones and it all boils down really to opportunity. Opportunity to get yourself into a car that perhaps you wouldn't otherwise be able to justify financially. Now, the number one factor behind that opportunity is price. It's going to be anywhere between 20 and 40% less than requisite vehicles on the market that aren't an insurance write-off. The next point is these cars are built to be driven. Don't have to worry about what those miles are going to be doing to the value of the vehicle. That investment piece has already been taken away, which some may view as a burden. So all that means is a car like this has quite literally thousands of guilt-free miles ahead of it. It's not a bad proposition for a buyer who believes these cars should be driven as intended. If the positives are themed around opportunity, the negatives really will mean that you will require patience. The first reason being insurance. There will be less choice available to you to insure the car. Simply put, because not as many insurance companies are going to want to insure a car that's already written off. Because the value is less, if anything happens to that car, they're going to be already getting towards write-off stage quicker. So it's more of a risk for an insurance company to insure this car. So as I say, you'll have less choice. So you may need to persevere there. The other thing is, once a car has been designated as an insurance write-off, it will always have that mark against its name for the life of the vehicle if it stays in this country, okay? It's impossible to remove it no matter how good the repair is. That means when you come to sell the car, you might find it's a little more difficult because again, just like many people watching this video here, the potential buying audience may be skeptical. So again, patience required when purchasing, when insuring, and when selling. That really is the long and short of it. You have to remember that if these cars weren't safe to drive, they wouldn't be back on the road. They wouldn't be allowed back on the road. So we have a sports car that's amazing value, ready to drive. The only problem is, as I say, you might require some patience when it comes to selling it, just for that very reason, okay? It is easy to dismiss this as something that, yeah, look, it's not for me, it's a headache, it's a risk. And yeah, look, of course it is, but I think what's interesting to explore is, should these sorts of cars be readily dismissed? Or actually, if you can approach it with your eyes wide open and with plenty of due diligence being given to it, in fairness, not unlike any normal Porsche 911 purchase. Could it work out? Just to elaborate on that mileage point that I mentioned by way of a positive, for £100,000, it's 991.2 GTS money. You get a 997 GT3 RS, one of the rarest Rennsports out there. With a car like this, only 11,000 miles on the clock, as an insurance write-off or as a crash damage car, well, you're not really fussed about the investment. So we've got 11,000 miles, only 11,000 miles on the clock. It's got a lot of life ahead of it, a lot of life ahead of it. And the prospect of piling on the miles in a GT3 RS is pretty tantalising. It is pretty damn tantalising. Sitting in this car now, does the fact that it's had some sort of damage, whether it's from an accident or a fire or flood damage, does it put me off? Does it emotionally feel any less of a connection to this car? Well, no. So if that emotional connection is there and you've done your diligence, you're happy and satisfied with the opportunity that's in front of you, you also accept the patience that may be required when buying, running, and indeed selling a car like this. If you're happy with all of that, what's not to like? I really want you to answer that question truthfully and honestly. But that's just my view. Let's speak with Will from Philip Raby Specialist Cars, who are selling this 911, for his take from inside the industry. I'm interested to know why, as a dealer, you took that car on. I know it's now sold, but as a crash damaged Porsche 911, what was your take on it from a dealer point of view?
Yeah, well, it's not something we take a lot of. We went through the paperwork with the owner, and it was all documented, the repairs were documented, all that sort of thing. We were quite happy to have a look, and we're happy to put our name to it. And I think a lot of the time, people go, oh, what about resale? You know, when I come to resell this car, it's going to be really hard. It's besides the point. A CAT-recorded car is worth less than a non-recorded car. If you buy the car at a good price, taking into account what's happened, then it won't be hard to sell, because when you go to sell it, it's reflecting the price again. You're just getting a higher caliber car for less money, as long as you get one that has been repaired properly.
Is there any nugget of advice that you would like to pass on to a consumer that may be looking or tempted by the idea of a crash damage 911?
Yeah, I mean, with crash damaged cars, you just want to make sure you're paying a fair price for them. You pay a fair price for the car. When you come to sell it, you won't struggle, because that will be re-reflected in your selling price. So just paying a good price, and of course the obvious of making sure it has been repaired properly. You know, it is symmetrical. It's always nice if there's photos of the damage, so you know what was done, or at least a good write-up, and it's got the insurance document to show it's been tested before it went back on the road, before it got a V5 again. I would say this, but buy it from a specialist, because we know we're happy to put our name to that car.
You know what you're looking for.
Yeah, we had the engine out, we've had it up on the ramp, we've been all around the car, and if suddenly, you know, we were to come across something we weren't so happy with, we would be saying to the owner, look, we don't want to sell this car. But that's not the case at all. If you're getting a nice one, you get so much more car for the money.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
By way of a conclusion then, should you buy a crash damaged Porsche 911? Well, your answer will be unique to you. It's really, really important to consider all the points that we've spoken about in this video. Different people will come to a different answer and a different conclusion. The thing I would say is perhaps don't readily dismiss it. A pre-purchase inspection is a must, really. Nineworks can help you out with that, by the way. Get in contact if you need that service. Thanks as always for watching. We'll see you in another video again soon.